I wasn't really freaking out that this baby was like about to fall out of me.
We are about to meet you, girl. You are hurting your mom very much right now. Water broken, 10 centimeters dilated. Of course, by the time you see this, you probably have 3 younger brothers.
Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be my labor and delivery story with my second daughter. Let's just start from the beginning. As you guys saw, because I did the little countdown to Zayna videos, which I only had 2 of, which really sucks, so I'm so sorry. So let's just start from the beginning and explain it, because I know it's kind of hard to see in vlogs, and I also want to apologize to you guys. My labor was super quick, and it escalated very quickly, so I don't have too much content in the vlog because everything happened so fast that I wasn't even really able to be like, oh, like record this real quick, do this real quick. So Wednesday, February 6th, I had my 39-week appointment. So we went in and I was expecting to not be dilated anymore at all because I wasn't feeling any different than I felt before. We were walking 3 miles a day at least. So I was doing all the things to try to get myself progress. We went into the doctor's office and she checked me. She said I was 3 centimeters dilated. She stripped my membranes, but she was like, well, you're so far along and I'm on call tomorrow, so how does tomorrow sound to have a baby? And me and Dakarai were like looking at each other like, what? Like, yeah, tomorrow sounds great to have a baby, but I really want to go into labor naturally just because I was scared. I had only heard bad things about induction, but when I talked to my doctor about it, she was like, no, because you're a second-time mom and your first labor was so quick, so this labor is most likely just going to go exactly the same, and we won't even have to put very much Pitocin in you anyway. Me and Dakarai just sitting there kind of thought about it. We just decided to just like, let's go ahead and do it. The plan was to go home, chill out. If I start having contractions for 5 minutes consistently for an hour, if my water breaks, if anything, all the signs that you go into the hospital, go into the hospital obviously, but if not, just come around 5:30, which for us meant that we needed to leave at 4:30 to make sure that we got there by 5:30 because we were so far away from the hospital. That day, we literally left the hospital and both me and Dakarai were like, well, so what do we do with our lives now? Like, we know this is our last day with a baby, without another baby, with just Kaiya. Like, what are we supposed to do? So we kind of just like hung out. We were gonna go to Olive Garden, and then we got to Olive Garden and it was like super packed. There was a 45-minute wait. We left because it was super packed, but I wish we would have stayed because I wanted to go so bad. But we actually ended up getting Chinese food and just like watching a movie and kind of chilling out, which is almost better, but it's kind of like once you have the baby, you like cannot go out. I couldn't go to sleep, of course, because I knew I was having a baby the next day. There was absolutely no way I was going to sleep. So I was up until probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I finally just like had to go to sleep. And I was also starting to have kind of consistent contractions. They were coming and going pretty consistently. So if I had like walked up and down the stairs or done some squats or something, I actually think that I might have gone into real labor, but I didn't. I just laid down because I knew we were going into the hospital at 5 anyways. So if I was in real labor, it didn't really matter. It would have been perfect. So I just laid down, tried to go to sleep. I couldn't really go to sleep. I think I slept for like 2 hours, and then I woke up like right before my alarm went off. So at 4:30 we woke up, got our stuff together, and got ready to go, which was actually really nice, to be honest. It was like a nice experience just knowing like that I can be ready and knowing that I have everything together. With Kaiya, I was in pain and it was my first pregnancy, so I was just like freaking out, but this time it was way more chill and it was really cool to just know like I'm going to the hospital to have a baby like right now. So we got in the car to go to the hospital around 4:30. We got Whataburger before we went in because you can't eat when you get to the hospital, so I needed to eat before, although I don't think I would have even felt hungry before I had the baby anyways. The other nice thing about knowing that I was going in at 5 in the morning was that we didn't have to deal with traffic. So yeah, it was just like a really weird experience. We just got there, checked into our room, and signed a few waivers, and then we were all good to go. So once I got into the hospital, this is kind of where the story develops. This is the only downside to this whole second labor, was that the staff was like a lot different than the staff that I had with Kaiya. With Kaiya, I feel like everybody was on their game. This time it was kind of like a little bit different. So the girl who did my IVs the first time couldn't find a vein, which is really weird because, I mean, if you guys like looked at my arms, they're like super veiny, and so are my hands. So I'm not really sure why she couldn't find a vein to get into, or why she couldn't get into it, but she stabbed me twice. They have a 2-poke limit, so like if one person pokes you twice, they have to go get somebody else to do it. So I told the lady before she even started poking me, I said, last time the lady stabbed me in my hand. With Kaiya, they stabbed me once, got it in, and it was perfectly fine. Everything was great. So this time she like tried to poke me somewhere in my arm up here, and then she tried to get into the veins that are in my hand and my wrist down here. Then another lady came in and she was trying to get the IV going and couldn't get it in my other hand. So I got stabbed 2 times in this hand, and then I got stabbed once in this hand, and then they finally ended up putting the IV where they draw blood from in your arm. And because they did that, because I couldn't like go like this, anytime I moved, the machine would start beeping and it would stop the Pitocin. This machine was beeping like every 2 minutes. It's really annoying because I'm like already uncomfortable, and then I'm having to call the nurses every time to come in because the machine's beeping, and I know that means the Pitocin's not getting it to me. So I don't know like if any of this had to do with how the labor went, but yeah. So my doctor got in around 7 a.m. and she broke my water to try to get the process to start going. So before she broke my water, she checked me and I was still a 3. Again, I was in no pain, like no real pain. I was definitely not having real contractions. As soon as she broke my water, I went from a 3 to a 4, which is active labor, which was awesome. So she asked me if I wanted to get my epidural as soon as possible or if I wanted to wait a little bit, and I was like, absolutely not. Give me the epidural ASAP. Even though I wasn't in any pain at that point, I knew I was going to get to pain pretty quickly. So she broke my water. I was nervous because I didn't have an epidural, so I thought that when they broke your water it hurt, but it didn't hurt at all. It hurt that she was sticking her fingers in me and breaking my water, of course. When my water actually broke, it didn't hurt. As soon as my water broke, I started having more painful contractions. So I probably actually only had just a few painful contractions before the person who did my epidural came in. And of course that entire process takes another freaking hour. He came in, they couldn't find my paperwork, which was so weird. I did my paperwork at my 36-week appointment, so I had to sign all my paperwork again, and it was like, I'm having contractions, like I'm not trying to sign any of this paperwork, I'm not trying to do any of this. That was awful. But the contractions were still kind of controllable at that point. But while he started to get my epidural ready, the contractions got a lot worse. Like they were bringing tears to my eyes and they were really painful. He started doing my epidural and he had to stab me so many times. I was getting upset. I didn't have the same lady that I had with Kaiya, which I was already upset about because I asked for her, but I didn't get her. So of course, that's not their fault. I'm sure she was either off duty or maybe doing somebody else. I don't know, but I really wish I would have just had her again. This guy, he didn't numb my back enough, so I was still feeling the needle every time he poked it in there, and he was like, oops, sorry, and then he would poke me and be like, oh, let me numb it some more. So he did that multiple times. Then he had to stab my back I think it was 4 times. And the thing that sucks about that is like you're sitting there having contractions while they're sticking this needle inside of you. So I'm like trying to stay hunched over and he's like, please hunch over, like please push your back towards me more. And I'm like, dude, I'm having contractions. I'm not sure if you know. clearly you're not a woman, so you have absolutely no idea what contractions feel like, but they're pretty bad, sir, so please chill out. He finally got the epidural in. Everything worked great after that. It wasn't like there were no issues with it. I didn't have to lay on one side to get it in or anything like that. So after that, I was chilling, of course, because once you have the epidural in, there's like no issues in the world. Like, you're totally fine and your life is great. And maybe 30 minutes after everything settled in, the nurse came in and she was looking at my contractions. She asked me, "Are you feeling pressure?" And I said no. And she was like, and then just like kept watching my contractions. And I could feel the contractions happening. Like, you can feel your stomach hardening, but you can't, it's not painful. I told her that I could feel the contractions, and she was like, "Well, I'm just gonna check you just in case." So then she checked me and she was like, "Oh, you just went from a -2 to a +1, which is the head location." So that means that she dropped down really far, like she's coming. And she was like, "And you're 7 centimeters dilated." So she was like, "I need to go get a table set up for you and whatnot." So she started running around. Because I was a 4 30 minutes before. So when I got my epidural, I was a 4. So we thought we had like a lot of time. So me and Dakarai were like, "Okay, let's take a nap. Let's chill out." I texted my parents telling them like, "Oh, I think I still have a while. I'm still at a 4. And the nurse is freaking out. So, well, she's not freaking out, but she's clearly like rushing. So that was like freaking me out. I was like, "Oh God, like what does this mean?" Because even a 7 to me was like, okay, well, I can still like last hours. So she was doing all of her stuff and she came in with a little table, and then I was telling her like, "Okay, wait, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. Like, I'm feeling a lot of pressure down there. Like, I'm pushing and I can't stop it." And so she was like, "Okay, let me check you." So she checked me and she was like, "Oh yeah, you're 10 centimeters dilated and I can feel the baby's head." She ran out, she called my doctor. My doctor came in and was like, "I just ran across the whole hospital for you. Like, are you excited to have a baby?" So this is at like 10:50-ish, like maybe 10:45 that she probably got in there, and then they started getting everything together and all the stuff set up around me. And while all that's happening, I was literally telling them, I was like, "I think that this baby's coming out. I can feel her. I can feel like myself, my body pushing, and I'm trying not to push." So they got everything ready. And what was really funny about this whole situation was this time it was just me and Dakarai in the room. So everything was like way more chill than it was with Kaiya. And I could like hear the conversations that the doctor and the nurses were having. And it was just funny. Like, they were just like so chill that it made me chill out. I wasn't really freaking out that this baby was like about to fall out of me. I was kind of just like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm about to have a baby." And after she got down there, got herself situated, the baby came 3 minutes later. So I pushed through 2 contractions, and then I pushed again with no contractions. She was like, "If you want to push, you can push." So I was like, "Okay, I'm doing it because I need to get this baby out of me. I can feel my body pushing." I pushed a little bit longer with Zayna than I did with Kaiya, but she came really fast, and all of that stuff happened so fast that it was like a whirlwind, and I was not paying attention to getting footage of it or texting anybody or anything. Like, it went from 0 to 100 so fast. Like, I went from a 4 to 10 centimeters dilated in less than an hour, and it was just honestly really wild. All of the things that I was worried about happening didn't happen because I was only scared about getting induced because I thought it was gonna make my labor longer, I thought it was gonna make my contractions worse, and I thought that it was gonna make me push for longer. So none of that happened. I pushed for the same amount of time as I pushed with Kaiya. I labored for way less time, and I felt less contractions because with Kaiya, I had to walk around the hospital for hours trying to get into active labor, and that entire time I was having really bad contractions. So this time I only had to have those real bad contractions for maybe 20 minutes. Zayna was obviously very ready to come, so I think personally that even if I hadn't gotten induced, I think I probably would have gone into labor that day. And I'm glad I got induced, honestly, because I'm glad I was at the hospital for this whole situation, because if that would have happened at home, I wouldn't have made it to the hospital. I actually would not have made it from my house to the hospital to when I was having the baby. Like, Zayna is here and she's perfect and she's happy and she's healthy and everything is going really great. So I'm really happy that my labor went the way it did with being induced. But again, it's the same thing as with Kaiya. I really just give all of the credit to my doctor because she is really just so amazing, And if you are looking for a doctor in the Austin area, send me a message because she is the best. That being said, that's gonna be the end of this video. It was a super crazy experience, but also a really great one. And of course, it's amazing because we welcomed our brand new daughter, Zayna, into the world. She is beautiful and amazing, and I just think that her and Kaiya are gonna be the cutest little sisters in the entire world. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment below letting me know how much you loved it. If you have any questions, leave those questions below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys next time.